I want you to bear with my rawness right now. And if you suffer from cancer, if you have somebody that you love and respect that's suffering from cancer, or if you want to live a long, vibrant life as long as possible without disease, then watch the whole video. I came to an understanding several years ago, 2017, 2018, and I say understanding when I sit with my clients, I talk about how it starts with learning to the understanding, to the incremental habits, to the mindset, then the discipline, and then the wisdom. But I realized at that time of the understanding that I was on the wrong ship. Think of it as the Titanic. And that ship, think of it as a world, and a whole world that the entire business entertainment model is around unhealthiness. And over the years, it evolved to a point where, controlled by the tax base and controlled by everything, that it got so unhealthy that eventually too many people are hitting the iceberg. And I'm going to tell you that there was people in that ship that were under the captain and were probably screaming at one point and or talking very loudly and or questioning orders. And Mike said something to the effect of, do you think we might want to slow down given that we're an iceberg country? There's a lot of those critical thinkers out there, but a lot of times those critical thinkers can't speak out because they get tarnished, they get shut down, they get quieted, right? And I realized I was on the wrong ship. And then there's this other ships I found them. And when I basically jumped over the other side of the fence, I found all these other ships and entertainment, healthy lifestyle ships from the top down. Your president's down, your prime minister is down from the top down. And on those healthy ships, there's a vibrancy of teaching each other how to get internally healthier to live as long as humanly possible a vibrant life without disease. And so with that understanding, I started understanding blood work and urine work and feces work and biomarkers and the whole nine yards. And then through research, I started to understand that in my jurisdiction, the blood work, for example, it's not very thorough no more. Even though they charge this much in tax base, they drop in services. So they raise the taxes, raise the fees, raise everything, but lower everything else, right? And yet everything else, or one of them is blood work. Imagine going in for a Supreme tune-up and all you get is an oil change and a top-up on your windshield washer. Well, that's what was happening. So I've been paying out of pocket for well over 5 years, 6 years, easily, that paying out of pocket. Like my cancer, one of the big alerts for me was my blood work that I paid an additional $125 above and beyond what the government paid, right, to get my blood work. And I've been doing that routinely with all my biomarkers. Even during my 41 days of fast, I was paying out of pocket every week to get my blood work and urine work done, right? So I understood that. But what happened with that is over those years, I lost a lot of medical conditions because I started analyzing my own blood work, my own biomarkers, urine work and all that. And I started looking at my causations and my illnesses. And I started looking at a lot of these little details that what led me to a healthier lifestyle. And when I started changing my ingredients and changing all these things and consumption and that, I started getting healthier. I started getting rid of a lot of things, right? Because before that, on that ship, I was getting moments of obesity, but definitely fat, right? But moments of obesity and up and down scales and true obesity, right? Until the light bulb went off on my forehead here. And then, but I was on more pills and more medical conditions and conversations of, your knees, the arthritis, the calcium tendonitis, all that. All these things will lead to down the road, get your knees. People start getting their knees replaced at this age and their hips replaced at that age. But then on this side of the fence, if you change the way you consume and change the way you eat and change the way you live and change the way you exercise and change the way you approach a lifestyle, a lot of those things disappear. That's what I started doing. So with that, the changes in the blood work in my jurisdiction again, they're going to be, they've already started. Like a doctor's visit, it's like, I'm not kidding you, like $7 per patient, like per 5 minutes. You're going to start seeing that. And if you haven't, you will, right? And what's going to happen is that it's going to be one illness per visit. And the doctor's already doing it. There's doctors already doing it. And it's one illness per visit. So because they're being paid nada, right? Like $7 per patient, right? So that's why it's going to be like ailment pill. That's what's going to happen. Right? And on their ship. And people continue to get unhealthier. Look at the data, look at the research, look at the science, look at everything. Look at the epidemic in mental health. epidemic in obesity, epidemic in all these diseases and diseases that never existed before, right? Like, it's crazy, but it's evident. Like, it's evident. And the more you consume a healthier lifestyle on this ship, you see that clearly. Like, you're not fogged in it, right? You don't have that processed mind. You can see it clearly, like, yeah, right? You can see the unhealthiness. And that psychology, right? You take that psychology, and I want to wrap this up. You take that psychology and you look at cancer patients. And I've interviewed, so this is lived experience, but it's also lived experience, like based on data and research and science and biowork and everything, and the lived experience of those around me that I loved and respect that perished from cancer, to the interviews that I conducted from those that lost a loved one or lost a spouse to cancer. And I always ask this question: they were consuming anything and everything, correct? They always say yes. And the couch, the lazy boy, the bed became their friend, became their lifestyle, correct? Correct. And eventually they just fell right off the cliff, correct? Correct. And when I go to cancer clinics, I see it. I see it amongst people because they are told they can eat anything and everything. And you cannot dissuade them from that. My sister, right, the num nums in her grocery cart because she had cancer, 3 cancers in 10 years, right? Treatment, remission, cancer, treatment, remission, cancer, death. That was her life for the last 10 years. And I think of that and the conversations that I had, and where they're telling her that you can't consume that, and people that I've interviewed and their loved ones and their spouses, they were telling them, they were trying to give them healthier versions of everything. And they would always say, just like my sister, that the oncologists are telling them that they could eat anything and everything. And on this side of the fence, on that ship of the world, my lifestyle, how I got rid of the severe sleep apnea and the device itself, the inhalers, the like heart medication, cholesterol medication, like I had isotope through my heart, the chronic pain from the arthritis in the right knee and the calcium tendonitis in the left hip and degenerative disc disease and the narrowing of the spinal facet and lesions in the spine, like all these things were more medication, right? I refused 3 pain medications because I have had many conversations with myself where I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, oof, stop, look, where are you going? Because on that ship, I know where I was going. I know that it would have been mobility devices. I know it would have been more medication because on that ship, I was getting fatter. I was getting unhealthier. I was getting more pills. I was getting more chronic pain. I was having more medical issues, more medical appointments, more like, where was I going? So on this side of the ship, what transpired in the last over 5 years now, like on June 3rd, 2019 is when I kicked into gear. But those light bulbs, those sparks, those punches to the side of the head that woke me up several times in life, that made me realize, right? And like where I was going and where I wanted to head. And I saw it. And I talked to those that I love and respect and tell them, I know where you're heading. I know where you're heading. Because on this ship, this is where you head, right? And I have loved ones in homes that they're young. If you look at what you can live, if you have a pension, if you put aside a life savings, shouldn't you live it vibrantly? Shouldn't you have the ability to travel, to live your life? You pounded away pavement for 40 years, 50 years, right? Take away your first 10 years or 15 years, depending where you live in the world, but you've worked all that. Like my first job was 12, so you really 11, maybe a newspaper routes and that. And then before that, like I remember like selling frogs, frog legs, sorry, my relatives. But yeah, but that was the things I used to do as a kid, right? We were raising money. But you've done that all your life. Then you hit to a certain age of your life and you're 60, but then you're dead by 72. You're dead by 71. or you live the last 10 years of your life on medication, medical appointment, medical procedure, the task-based, right? Or you live 100 years strong, 90 years strong. That your last moments of life that are unpleasant are a hell of a lot shorter. A hell of a lot shorter. Because you die of, you're telling me you die of old age, right? But a peaceful old age, a nice old age. That's how you die. I guess when you start investing in yourself, when you start looking at your own biomarkers and you start analyzing you and understanding your genetics and understanding the bloodline that you should be following and the foods that you should be consuming based on you, not on what they put out there, not on the noise of the marketing noise. For every dollar spent on healthiness, they spend over $300 on unhealthiness. This is governed, regulated, and marketed, right? So that business model is that, but there's other business models. And the only reason why that business model is that is because whoever's holding the reins. If these people had part of those reins or held the reins, it'd be a whole different world. It'd be a healthy world. It'd be a very vibrant world. It'd be a business-wise, it'd be everything. There'd be so much more advancement and positiveness. Like not this whole focus on whatever the hell would have fell off the planet in the last few years. Some people are so far off the edge, a lot of their mindsets fell off. Invest in yourself. Understand your genetics. Understand your bloodline. Understand your biomarkers. Start studying yourself. Start changing the consumption of the food. Do not consume anything and everything that you're told that you can, because you shouldn't. The more you live this lifestyle, the more natural that you live. Forget the unhealthy shit here. But the more natural that you live, the more from the earth that you live, whether it's from the sky, from the land, from the water. That as natural as possible as you live, while you can still do all your medical procedures if you wish. You can do all that stuff. Don't change that. Just eat from the earth as much as possible. Sky, land, and water. And you will live a more vibrant disease while getting eternally healthier and getting off the treatments. That should be your goal, because you don't want to do cancer remission, cancer death. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, Jean-Guy Public Communicator.